Most self-care online is comfort, not growth. Hate to be the one to break it to you. Actually, I love breaking it to you. Truth be told, a lot of what we hear and a lot of what we are fed online is not growth, okay? It's keeping people comfortable in their pride, their dysfunction, their ego, their avoidance, all right? Especially when it comes to human interaction. You know, there are so many layers to this whole discussion of, you know, self-care, protecting our peace. You know, this is a boundary. And even myself, you know, when I think about what self-care actually looks like for me, it's actually doing the hard stuff. It's doing the hard work, okay? It's saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get up at 6 to go to the gym, which means that I have to go to sleep earlier, which means that I have to get off my phone, which means that I gotta recognize when I'm doom scrolling, you know? Sometimes self-care actually looks like budgeting properly. There's one thing I've noticed, if we are so used to being in moments of stress, we will continue to subconsciously create that for us. You know, I've seen videos and posts sometimes where it's like, you have $2 left in the bank and you know you got a bill that's coming up. And you already know you can't afford it. So self-care for you is like, well, I'm gonna take myself out to get some food and I'm gonna send my bank account into the negatives, right? So since I'm already in this crappy space, I might as well continue to put myself in a further deficit. Self-care. No, because your future self now has to work you out of it, right? Self-care can be things. It can be a bubble bath after a hard day. Yes, that can absolutely be self-care. Self-care can look like reevaluating a relationship or completely removing it. After you've had the conversation and recognizing that, hey, there needs to be some clarity that's addressed. And there's different moments for different relationships, but a lot of times people are looking for comfort in their dysfunction. And you hear it, right? I'm just protecting my peace. I don't owe anybody anything. Okay. That's self-care, okay? That's me having boundaries. And a lot of times people use boundaries as manipulation because it's not even a boundary, you know? That's somebody feeling like they are entitled to have access to other people, but people are not allowed to have access to them. That's not self-care. That's selfishness, but that's not self-care, you know? And this isn't to say that people don't have their own responsibility in relationship with us, right? When it comes to this whole concept of communication, demanding that people always communicate with you and tell you what's wrong. A lot of times people know exactly what they're doing and how they're moving. Okay, and sometimes these are the same people saying that they are practicing self-care, right? Self-care looks like discomfort. So I want you to think about how many times you put yourself in an uncomfortable moment to grow as a person. Okay. Even the concept of, you know, having low maintenance friends, that's a big one. And we'll talk about that later. This idea of like, oh, I just love low maintenance friends. It's not self-care as much as it is self-importance and selfishness, right? The idea of not having to be responsible for other people makes you feel good. But the idea of having access to those same people and you think that they're supposed to be responsible for you makes you feel good. Okay. There have been times I've been talking to someone, right? And, you know, I asked them, I'm like, before you cut that person off, did you communicate with them? Did you tell them what was going on? Yeah, I told them. Okay, what did you say? And then when they say it out loud, it's like, you didn't communicate anything. And then they go, well, yeah, that person should just get it. So now you just said two different things, right? You didn't take care of yourself in that moment. You didn't take care of the other person. And this is especially if the relationship matters, if there is just a moment of miscommunication versus dysfunction, a lot of times we will avoid the discomfort and we will exaggerate the situation to make us feel better about us not handling it properly. You know? When it comes to health and growth and just growing as an individual, you know, we hear a lot of detachment talk, a lot of I don't owe anybody talk, a lot of protecting my peace talk. And it's like, you are not peaceful. You are not peaceful. And you are not at peace. You're avoiding, you know? You're taking care of your pride and your ego in that moment, but you are not at peace as a person. Especially if you can't have a hard conversation. If a hard conversation throws you off completely to the point that you can't deal with it, then that's information. Okay? A lot of these people who say that they are protecting their peace and practicing self-care cannot have an adult conversation. Cannot simply say out loud, hey, you hurt me, or hey, this hurt, or this felt some type of way. I want to get your perspective on it because this is how I experienced it. Or they avoid people who may have a transgression with them, and they call it practicing self-care or protecting their peace. No, you're avoiding the consequences of your actions and your character. Okay? And also think about in your daily habits with yourself, how much do you avoid and procrastinate, and you call it self-care? Right? Even as I stand here in this moment, you know, when I think about self-care long-term, future Isaiah, what am I willing to do right now that's uncomfortable to get me closer and to make sure that he doesn't have to carry the burden later? What does that look like? Even in your daily habits. Okay? What's your eating look like? And treating yourself out to a weekend of partying and drinking all the time or eating horribly is not always self-care. And this isn't to say that you can't indulge. You know, I like cake. I love desserts. But I also recognize the responsibility that comes with that. I have to remain healthy, right? There has to be a balancing act. And when it comes to my relationships, what's self-care? You know, if I want to have more honest relationships and healthier connections with people, am I being intentional about taking care of them? Or if every time something goes wrong, I simply avoid them and check out? That's not caring for anybody. Self-care is not selfishness. And the people who are really practicing self-care, you'll see how they treat other people. So, I want you to ask yourself, what have I been coining as self-care, but has actually just been avoidance? Has actually just been my pride? Has actually just been procrastination? Okay? Has actually been me not wanting to deal with the discomfort of a certain reality. Remember, self-care is more about self-awareness and confrontation, okay, versus it being avoidance. And avoidance and practicing your peace and protecting your peace feel very different, and they look very different. Trust me. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.